I would just like to point out that all of the characters and writings are property of the prospective owners and the people who created them. I own none of the content that is currently being created. Please support the official release of all such products. Thank you for listening. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Volume 1, Chapter 29. Lizardman's Invasion. There is a lake in the center of the Jura forest called Shisu. A marsh surrounds the lake and is controlled by the lizardmen. Countless caves surround their lands, forming a natural labyrinth thwarting any invasion. Protected thus by the land itself, the lizardmen peacefully ruled over the lake. However, one day troubling news reached them. The orc army was advancing to the lake. The head, upon hearing these news, quickly issued orders. "Prepare for battle! We'll crush them!" The head was full of confidence. Had they fought on the plains it might have been different, especially considering the lizardmen were outnumbered. But this battle would be on their terms. If they set traps, proceeded carefully, they were sure to win. While sending some to prepare for battle, he also sent a reconnaissance team to investigate the orcs. Knowing the size of the enemy is a must. Along with becoming the leader, his intelligence increased. The carnivorous lizardmen would individually rank as a C+ monster. The warriors could reach B-, and some special individuals among them could even reach rank B. The total number of their troops numbered 10,000, if calling half of their entire population to arms. However, even so, their abilities are rather highly ranked. If they properly cooperate and fight as a single unit, they can easily rival the army of a small human country. Thus, this battle seems completely to their advantage. There is no way we will lose, so thought the head. However, his heart was still heavy. Orcs were typically a race that wouldn't attack those stronger than themselves, and by no means are lizardmen weaker. Had they attacked the goblins, then it would have made some sense, but why them? And thus the question slowly grew into unease that tormented him. A bold personality, but with enough humility, that was the head of the lizardmen who ruled them carefully for many years. And this lizardman's fears were soon to come true. That much was confirmed, but the reconnaissance team, the orcs numbered 200,000. Impossible, so he thought. The orcs were indeed a race bursting with life, renowned for their reproduction abilities. However, even then, to prepare 200,000 warriors was unthinkable. How were they able to produce enough food? Who had united that many selfish and greedy orcs under one banner? With their power, at most, 1,000 would follow. The best the head could do would be raise an army of for 20,000. Are they divided into sections controlled by some outstanding individuals? But even so, someone has to unite the leaders. It could have been. The mere thought evoked fear. He wanted to reject that with all his might. That's how terrifying that existence was. The Orc Lord, said to be born once in many thousands of years. However, no matter how hard he had thought, only that entity could have achieved such a result. If the Orc Lord has indeed been born, then the advantage he so depended on would probably be meaningless. If they fight normally, defeat is almost inevitable. They don't have enough troops, so the head thought. What could they do to escape from this predicament? If his worries proved mistaken, he would only jump for joy. However, one has to prepare for any circumstances for the decisive battle. So he decided to call for reinforcements, and thus he sent out one of his subordinates. Unfortunately, it was that subordinate that caused the chaos. Lizardmen's raid leader, Gabil, upon receiving the orders from the head, left the marshes, taking with him 100 warriors. Gabil was not pleased. To him who had a name, to be taking orders from the nameless head. How revolting! I am the chosen one. That very fact was the root of Gabil's pride and confidence. A certain devil he had met granted him this name. You show promise. Some day I'll come back to call you to my side. So the great devil told him. He remembers those words as if they were said yesterday. My great master, the devil, Gelmudo, himself bestowed this name upon me. So, how could I be satisfied working under those low-class lizardmen and the pathetic leader? For Gelmudo-sama's sake, I must take control of the lizardmen. Gabil kept thinking the same thing. Is this fine? Of course not. In that case, what should he do? The orders from the head were to journey to the goblins' village and request their assistance. He did allow some forceful coercion, but strictly forbid any action that would prompt a violent response. Pathetic, so thought Gabil. We should just conquer the goblins. We should have faith in our abilities, and all will go as planned. Yes! We have no need for the weak head who overestimates the power of some lowly orcs. Isn't this the chance for takeover that I was waiting for? It is. So, how should I proceed? These lowly goblins can at least serve me as meat shields, so let's gather them up and put those lowlifes to use. 10,000 goblins should be useful. Wait, I got a better idea. This is the perfect opportunity to show the world our power. My power! For that goal, I should proceed carefully. Carefully without letting my guard down. Wait for the right timing. First, gather forces. This goblin will proceed onward to the goblin village. For the sake of my great ambition, the goblin village chiefs gathered with paled faces. Compared to before, their numbers significantly dwindled.
It all began with the coming of the fanged wolves, or perhaps it began when they abandoned the village of the named warrior. The villages which wanted to fight along that seemingly dependent village have now joined it. A savior appeared in that village, a being with unbelievable power. Those goblins came under the protection of that being, gained new powers, and successfully reconstructed their village. But the goblin chiefs can't do something as shameless as request to join them now of all times. Actually, a lot want to do that. There are many who already have. But if they joined them now, surely they would be treated as slaves. That was the thought that prevented them from making a decision. However, time doesn't wait. The orc army has begun their advance. A few chiefs have decided to serve the orcs, rather than be trampled down by them. Better to promise help in advance and live under their protection. With those intentions, they sent a messenger. The messenger did not return. Not all of him. The orc's envoy brought the messenger's head and said this: "Grrrah! We shall not permit your capitulation. However, if you chose to become our slaves, we shall at least spare your lives. Such is our promise." And he leisurely left. Yet anger did not arise within them, for they witnessed that overwhelming power. That single orc could have slaughtered every one of them in the village. Normally, orcs are a rank D monster, stronger than your average goblin, but not so overwhelmingly strong. Upon hearing the report, the village chiefs fell into an ever deeper despair. They should have chosen to serve under the fellow brethren at least. The orc, who promised to save their lives, also demanded that they give up all their food. "We won't kill you." That's what he's saying. However, even if all goblins assembled, they would certainly be annihilated. The goblins who could fight numbered slightly less than 10,000. Their brothers from the savage regions, those not included in their gatherings, could not be contacted, so they were out of options. At that time, an urgent report arrived. "Lizardmen warriors have entered the village," it read. Was this not a glimmer of hope? So, the village chiefs went to meet the Lizardmen's raid leader. He was their only hope, they thought. Moreover, he was a named monster. Surely he would become their savior. And then their messiah proclaimed, "Swear your loyalty to me. If you do, I promise you a bright future." We believe those words. Thus the village chiefs made their decision. It was a mistake of the weak, who had no one to depend on. There were some who insisted on serving their kind rather than the lizardmen. However, they were greatly outnumbered, so the goblins chose to serve Gabil, if only they knew that this decision would decide their fate. Hakaru is a master swordsman, strength without a blemish. Although he's at the age to be someone's grandpa, his spirit is clearly years younger. Having taken my human form, I am learning the sword from him. Although I haven't held a sword since those kendo lessons in middle school. My perception speed is 1,000 times the norm. Receiving a blow is a piece of cake. I also had time when I had thought of that. Since moving around in the child's form was unpleasant, I changed to my adult version. "Come at me, Gramps," I thought watching Hakaru. Then he somehow grew hazy. At that moment, dung, a hit landed square on top of my helmet. I felt no pain nor took no damage. The helmet was made from wood, so it didn't offer any protection. Since the point is to learn these movements, it's best to hear when a hit lands. But really, it wasn't speed, it was a skill. Completely a difference of skill. His ability is properly higher than mine. How unexpected. I wasn't planning on being conceited, but this completely took me by surprise. So, this is a swordsman, a power one can easily recognize. Had this been an actual fight, well, I have a few tricks of my own, but if this were a surprise attack, I would have lost. Though, even knowing this much, any mistake will certainly lead to my defeat. Besides, there's no way Hikaru-san has gone all out there. Next to me, Benimaru has been knocked out, with a pleasant expression. If I didn't have the accelerated perception, I surely would have been in the same state. Not something to laugh about at all. The two of us taken out at the same time. Since this old man regained his youthful spirit, he became truly dangerous. And then... a strange sound resounded from the surroundings. What is that? That noise apparently was an alarm system the goblins had set up. Of course they've done that without my knowledge, using the traps I had previously set as a clue. Ending our practice, we head over to Rigurdo. When he sees me, Rigurdo rushes over. "There's trouble, Rimuru-sama. The lizardman messenger has arrived." So he impatiently reported. By the way, Rigurdo has pretty much established this panicky image, hasn't he? That aside, lizardmen? I knew that annoyance would arrive someday, but seems like it's finally here. Well, let's calmly listen like I always do. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Volume 1, Chapter 30. Envoy. Gobble had easily acquired the goblin village's support. Without even having to show our power, the goblins quickly surrendered themselves to me. They are a pathetic race after all. Should they show any intention to disobey, I'll quickly force them to obey. Gobble had completely forgotten the head's words. He had every village bring out food from their storehouses, and have every warrior assemble before him. The goblin warriors numbered 7,000. They were clothed in battered leather armor and armed with stone spears. A poor fighting force, but good enough for now. Those without the will to fight have already ran away. "Clan chiefs, are there any other villages around here?" The chiefs exchanged glances. One nervously replied, "No, though not exactly a village, but there is a community." "What's with that?" The way they're trying to avoid the question was getting on Gabil's nerves, and when he pressed further, they began telling him of a bizarre story. That there was a group of goblins hunting atop of fang wolves. However, that makes no sense, he thought. Fang wolves are powerful monsters that move in packs. Called the rulers of the plains, they've thwarted lizardmen advances many times. For them to serve some lowly goblins? Impossible! And moreover, they've concluded with the truly ludicrous statements. These goblins obey a slime. A slime, the lowest of monsters. What wolf or even goblin would serve such trash? He decided to confirm their words. There's probably some trick involved, he thought. If he had handled this well, he could gain control over the fanged wolves. Gabil thus decided, for the sake of his grand ambition. The village was not where he was told. That had angered him, but he decided to be patient. In order to control the wolves, he probably needed to be more patient. To achieve his desire of ousting the current head, he needed to have more self-control. Thus, for the sake of his goal, he decided to be patient. Gabil perceived only one obstacle to his plan, a lack of an army. If only he could command the wolves, the other lizardmen would surely follow. And with the rulers of the plains and the rulers of the marshes under one banner, how would they even think to fear the lowly orcs? Gabil so believed, without even a hint of doubt. By expelling the orcs, they would become the true rulers of the Jura forest, and thus surely Gelmundo-sama would distinguish them for their service. For such a grand dream, he'd wait as long as necessary. The main army he'd already sent back to the Shizu Lake, ordering them to be on standby. Since they didn't have much provisions, they had to act quickly. Time was of the essence. After receiving reports that tracks were found, he quickly issued orders. Including himself, he selected 10 elites. Mounting the overlizards, they ran towards their objective. The wolves were nothing to fear, as although they were certainly powerful, they obeyed some lowly goblins, perhaps the leftovers of a pack. I'll train them myself, and have them regain their former powers, so he thought. Oh, but how could he have imagined what would lay before him? His head was filled with the dream of becoming a ruler of the forest and serving Gelmundo. To meet the lizardmen's envoy, I proceeded to the entrance of the city. There we had built a small cabin that the guards used to rest in. The members who had attended were myself, Rigurdo, Benimaru, Hakuro, and Shion. I had asked Shion to prepare some tea, but that ended in regret. She does not understand the beauty of a gentle refinement and natural simplicity. She does everything with all her strength, as if screaming, "Strength is everything!" When cleaning, everything must be erased, she concluded, and attempted to destroy the very building. Fortunately, we were able to stop her in time and did not need to rebuild it. "I sincerely beg your forgiveness," she exclaimed, dejectedly, "but that doesn't mean we can let our guard down around her. She'll just try to solve any problem with her strength, so I worry about letting her out of my sight." However, she was ecstatic when I let her take weight on me. I just wish she wasn't that happy about it. As I'd expected, the tea was horrible, but was that even tea? I feel like there was some strange grass looking like wakame floating in there. In short, there was not something you'd drink. Rigurdo, fearing, "What is this? Explain yourself," questioned timidly, and turned away. What a guy. Benimaru, keeping his eyes closed as if his life depended on it, refused to look this way. Damn you guys. The oblivious to our troubles Shion, waiting for praise. Wait, what is there to praise? Having said my prayers, I moved to take the teacup. Ah, tea. I was just getting thirsty. With those words, Gauta, who had just arrived, took the cup and drank it all. Yeah! Well done. I'm proud of you from the bottom of my heart. Shion's face, however, twisted into a small smile, devoid of any positive emotion. That Gauta did not notice, couldn't notice. One last escaped from his mouth before it had filled with foam, and he fell to the floor, convulsing. Dodge that bullet. That could have been me right there. Her face colored in surprise. Shion slightly inclined her head, but I wouldn't be deceived. She's forbidden from cooking from now on. Shion, when making food or drink for people, make sure to run it by Benimaru first. Let's make sure she understands. Benimaru, choking on something, stares at me in response. Nope, she's your problem now. I leave her to you, I told him with my eyes. And thus, both dejectedly hang their heads. I pray there be less victims from now on. Since the alarm sounded, an hour had passed, and the envoy had finally arrived. And with a somewhat different attitude, a lizardman dismounted a giant lizard. Would he be their leader? Well done with the reception. I'll allow you to become my servants. Be honored. Is he still asleep? Somehow I have no words to say. What the hell is this idiot saying? Huh? Haven't you heard? The orc army is advancing on the forest. The only one who can save you, small fry, is me. So the orcs are indeed coming. I was waiting for Soe to report. So this is within expectation. I guess it would make sense to unite against them, but... Oh, right. I heard there is someone among you who has tamed a fang wolf. I'll make him into an officer. Bring him to me. Fighting together is good, but what if our ally is an idiot? An incompetent ally is worse than a hardened foe. That much is common sense. I took a quick glance at Rigurdo. His mouth was gaping open. Benimaru scratched his head and looked at me as if saying, "Can I kill this idiot?" Of course, I hadn't considered his offer. We refused. No, not about Shion's cooking, their offer. Hikaru simply crossed his arms and closed his eyes, or is he sleeping? And Shion, who's holding me, is flexing her arms. "Stop! You'll crush me!" But when she noticed my panic, she loosened up a bit. Being held in the slime body certainly feels good, but it's dangerous. I let my guard down. Being hugged to death would not be funny. Seems like she can't control her strength at all. In any case, this is rather troubling. Who'd have thought the envoy would be an idiot? The one who tamed the Fang Wolf, or made him his servants, would be me. Anyway, let's continue the conversation. Huh? A lowly slime? Then summon him now if you do. I'll believe you. How condescending. Now I'm annoyed. This guy, he's completely ignoring us, at his own pace. He's looking down on us too much. I've met many politicians and office workers before, but never before have I met someone so blatantly foolish. For such a moron, it should be fine to ignore any rules of civility. And besides, there is no benefit in making such an ally. I decided to change my approach. Ranga! I hear and obey! Ranga appears from within my shadow. Recently lurking around in there has become his habit. Oh, it seems I have business with you. I permit you to speak. I prefer to leave things to others, since there's always someone who can better manage such people. But really, the only one who didn't treat me, while a slime, as trash was Rigurdo. Huh. Well, there's nothing I can do about losing interest in humoring this guy. And by the way, it seems that for every person that recognizes my aura, while I hide it, there's an idiot who doesn't even while I display it. That's something I need to think about. Noticing my displeasure, Ranga, rather than with my lord, I have been ordered to speak with thou. I'm listening. Speak! With intimidating the lizardman, he confronted the envoy, who in turn lost his composure for a second, but then quickly regained it. Right! So you are the Fang Wolf, the chief here. I am the lizardman's raid leader, Gabil. Pleased to make your acquaintance. As I have just stated, I have received a name, so rather than that slime, how about serving me? He brazenly replied. Let me hit him. No, have to act like the mature monster here. Let's forgive him. I am an adult. Calm yourself. But more than myself, I want Shion to relax. Wait, any more power and I'll... Noticing my squirming, Shion apologized by patting me. Seriously, calm down. However, isn't he too arrogant for a simple lizard? Ranga, too, is begging to let loose on him. Lowly lizard, I am no longer a Fang Wolf. For you to not recognize that much, insignificant being. Ranga gritted his teeth, and a dangerous crimson light filled his eyes. He's stilling his anger. Ranga-san, don't overdo it. Will the lizard survive? Were he not a messenger, I'd laugh watching him torn to pieces for his stupidity, but... Very well, I'll show you my power. Who will be my opponent? That's a bad joke. Please read the mood, lizard. You're the weakest one here. At most, he might be stronger than Rigurdo. I mean, even Rigurdo possesses B-rank strength. Being the Goblin King, he's the strongest warrior among the goblins. The average of a hobgoblin is C+, but he's worlds above that, and that's not counting his armaments. Sure, the lizard is a named monster and may be strong among them, but he pales in comparison to anyone here. Where the hell is this self-confidence coming from? We exchange glances. Who will fight him? Fine. In that case, fight one of my storm wolves. Should you defeat him, I will listen. Ranga continued the conversation. Thank goodness. We couldn't agree on who'd fight him. Everyone wanted to beat the guy senseless and had a dangerous glow in their eyes. But somehow seeing them act like that made me relax, and whenever someone had an outburst of anger, the rest of us seemed to calm down. For guys like this, only I seem to be able to keep my cool at all times. But whatever. Is that fine? I'm willing to face you, you know. Well, if you feel like making excuses when you lose, you are free to send out your subordinate. Ranga howled. Damn it, just when the anger had subsided, the lizard man had to provoke us again. Ranga calmly summons a wolf. I didn't know he had learned such a summoning skill. Moreover, a black wolf appearing thus, I must admit, looks pretty damn cool. Grrr, shut up, lizard. And then, to the lizard, if you wish to borrow my strength, first show your own. Now begin, Ranga shouted. At the sound of his voice, the battle began. The lizard, no, Gabil, readied a trident and carefully observed the storm wolf's movement. The wolf, on the other hand, stood composed. He kicked the ground, covering the distance to his opponent in a single leap, surpassing Gabil's perception ability and overwhelming speed. Completely unable to react, Gabil never knew what hit him. In a split second, he received a blow to the chest. The wolf then circled behind him and held him by the neck, with his mouth, of course, in midair. He threw Grabil into the air once and then smashed him to the ground. That had all happened in the blink of an eye. Not Ranga, but some average stormwolf had completely overwhelmed the B-ranking lizard man's raid leader, Gabil. I knew Ranga had been growing stronger recently, but to think that the other wolves had developed this far? As a result of the attack, Gabil's scale armor fell apart, and the lizard himself had fainted. Gabil's subordinates, who were busy encouraging him a second ago, now stood troubled. They could not understand what happened at all. The winner has been decided. The offer I refuse. If you come back asking for help to fight against the orcs, I may consider it. Today, however, you take that away and leave. Upon hearing my words, the lizardman finally began leaving. And thus, the troublesome lizardman envoy had finally departed. However, the orcs still going to invade. We do not have a solid plan yet. Moreover, we seem to have met a headache-inducing, unreliable ally known as the lizardman. The more I thought about these things, the deeper into melancholy I fell.